Pakistan overcame 4 consecutive losses to claim the 2023 World Cup, beating Bangladesh by 7 wickets. While chasing 205 runs in 32.3 overs, opener Fakhar Zaman scored 81, Abdullah Shafiq added 68, forming a vital partnership. Bangladesh batted first, scoring 204 runs in 45.1 overs. Pakistan now has 6 points from 3 wins and 4 losses. Still in contention. Yes, mathematically, arithmetically, they're still in the game. In the hearts of our heart, we know it's a tough game, but life moves on. The semi-finals with 2 matches remaining, Bangladesh is at the bottom with slim chance. Let's call it no chance at all. Fakhar Zaman named the player of the match. He was sitting outside, but he came back with a resounding batting display yesterday. In today's match, South Africa, New Zealand face off, with New Zealand leading the ODI World Cup encounters, but South Africa had the edge in overall ODI records. Well, we have 4 of the best guests that you can find who are going to give us insights. One of them is Mr. Rajkumar Sharma. He joins us through our Zoom. And also we have Christopher Mpofu, the Zimbabwean former player, legend. And we have a new guest today. Yes, Jeffrey Tiona, former cricketer and current Eastern Storm head coach. In fact, he was here in India for in the 2012 with Themba Reza Hendricks and a whole lot of other players in the go. But happy to have all 4 of the esteemed guests in the lineup. Well, we'll begin our question with Mr. Rajkumar Sharma. Mr. Sharma, can you hear us? Let me just check with the technical team. Well, Mr. Sharma, what do you think is the current state in the match today? Who do you think has got the upper hand?
Sunil, it is not easy to say who is the favourite today because both the teams, South Africa as well as New Zealand, have played good class of cricket.
Right.
And both have got very, very balanced team, and you can't just pick one out of these 2. But I think looking at the batting strength and bowling, I think I would favour South Africa because they are playing so well and they have been tagged as chokers. But this time, the way they played against Pakistan, I think they stand a good chance here. But you can't take New Zealand also lightly because they are also a very good team and they'll give a tough fight to South Africa.
Well, interesting. Which player is going to be the standout for today's match?
Well, regarding the wicket, I think it is a good wicket to bat, and it has always helped the batsman. But if you hit the deck, there is a lot of bounce also because it is a red clay, and it helps fast bowling also because one get good carry, good bounce out of the wicket if you really hit the deck. But I think it is going to be a high-scoring game, and I think the team winning the toss would like to chase because the wicket remains like that only, and if the dew factor comes, it is difficult to bowl also. So I think anybody who wins the toss would like to chase because they would like to bowl first and then chase that score.
Well, there's a slight change. I'll go from one coach to the other coach who's joined us. Jeffrey, would you agree to the coach of Virat Kohli and a very acclaimed Indian coach, Mr. Rajkumar Sharma's view about the team and especially of South Africa? They've been tagged as chokers in the last 20 years or so, but do you think they're out there to prove something to the critics? Your view, Jeff?
Yeah, no. I think they're playing some good cricket. I mean, we've played some good cricket in this World Cup. Like we've played 6 and only lost, to the Dutch team. I think the big challenge, yes, I hear the coach talking about chasing. I think it's a thorny issue, in the change room of the Proteas. The previous game, we had a nervous chase against Pakistan. We were in a good position. And then somehow, we collapsed to win by 1 wicket. So I think that's something that South Africa need to look at because you can't bank on batting only. There's wickets that might require you to chase. And I believe that the chokers tag, is out of our system now. It's a young team and the boys look hungry. I mean, Quinton de Kock, I mean, like he's playing some good cricket as well. So this one, it will be quite interesting. I mean, you know, like I don't think it's a must-win, to be honest, for South Africa.
Absolutely.
But I think the challenge, but I think the challenge now, you know, like is the positioning, you know, like in the league, where I think with 3 games left, I think it's important that, you know, like we as South Africa try to avoid India, you know, like in the semi-finals. And I see today's game, you know, like as part 1 of a part 2 like match, because I believe that South Africa and New Zealand will finish 2 and number 3. Then I think we'll meet each other again in the semi-finals,
right?
Which is gonna be a big game, that one. So yes, like there's still lots of cricket.
Yes,
that's to be played.
Yes, Jeffrey, just stay tuned with us, and we thank you for joining us straight from South Africa early in the morning. It's 6 in the morning there. Tasmin, my another guest in the studio, joins us. Tasmin, just take us through some statistical delights about the match today.
Yeah, definitely. So these teams have met before on 8 encounters. New Zealand having the better hand in the World Cup format of these tournaments, having won 6 and South Africa just 2. Not to mention, on this fact, South Africa has lost 5 back-to-back World Games in a row versus New Zealand. So they'll definitely be looking to rectify that today. You know, I think they're in great touch. They possibly firing in all departments as long as they get the chance to have a bat first. You know, we've seen they do have a bit of a mental block, as Jeff has mentioned, that when they do have a chance and they are sent in to chase, you know, they sort of don't exactly get off to the greatest starts that they want, you know. In ODIs in total, they've played 71 games against each other, but have this, New Zealand having only won 24 of those matches and South Africa 41. So they can take that as a vote of confidence to themselves to say that the World Cup is just another format, you know. For me, it's a rivalry that no one really talks about. It's one of those India-Pakistan rivalries, you know, but no one really shines light on it. But for the past couple of years in World Cups, the New Zealand-South Africa thing has become a big deal for them.
Absolutely.
Do I still think they're at the choking stage? No.
No.
Because personally, for me, they've come into this tournament having just considered this is the World Cup. Regardless of whatever's happened in the past, they look like a team that's here to play this World Cup, not taking anything else into consideration.
Well, that's a good point, Tasmin, you've made. Now, we are joined by Christopher Mpofu.
There we go.
The former, yeah, I get it right, the former Zimbabwean cricketer and who's very active in the current leagues. Chris, can New Zealand, having triumphed over defending champion England, continue their winning streak and defeat South Africa today? Your views? Chris.
For me, today's game is absolutely one game to watch. And for me, I believe this is a balanced and poised game to talk about. Yes, New Zealand lost the last game to Australia, but I can tell you that they are oozing also in confidence, coming from chasing 380 that they could have won. They could have won in a tremendous way, losing by 5 runs against Australia. For me, that tells you that they are a team that is playing some magnificent cricket. And for South Africa at the same time, one team that has been batting very well, having one loss, that loss is coming against Netherlands, and all these games that they've played lately, they've been playing absolutely brilliant. Batting first has been a goal to South Africa at the moment, and you're talking about New Zealand at the same time. They are playing some good cricket, but it will be interesting if South Africa manages to get to chase, and that depends on how many they are chasing also at the same time. But on this game, I'll put my money on South Africa on grabbing this one and snatching. But I still believe that we've been seeing some good games in this World Cup. And today's one, believe me, I've got a feeling that it's going to be another thrilling game to watch.
Well, we've spoken about fast bowling. You've been a great promoter of pitching it up, bowling it at the right block. What do you think of Rabada? Certainly he provides the kind of edge that the team wants.
Yeah, talking about advantages that South Africa has in this encounter, today's encounter, for me, they have a lot of advantages when it comes to this game. When you're talking about their batting lineup, absolutely, at the moment, formidable. I can call it that. Everyone in that top order is shining. Even you talk about the captain. Yes, he hasn't scored hundreds in this World Cup, but he looks in form. Yes, he's been coming out and Unlucky for him, he's had a few sickness that have kept him away from other games. But you're talking about that top order. You've got Quinton de Kock. He's in the form of his life. Pity that he is going to be retiring from one-day cricket after this World Cup. He looks in tremendous form. You've got one of the best middle order batters, Henrik Klaassen. For me, he is the best middle order batter right now moving around the world, if not one of the best batters in the world, whether it's top order or it's lower order. For me, he is a formidable force to watch. And you've got other guys who are batting around him there. You've got another guy who's not even in the team. You've got Reese Hendricks, who's in the bench, but he's still batting very well. And coming to the bowlers, yes, they've been, quite hard to contain in terms of this World Cup. Bowling well in this World Cup has been hard for bowlers sometimes, but I still think their bowlers are coming into form. And you asked the question about Kagiso Rabada. Yes, he makes a huge difference whenever he's in that team. He's got the pace, he's got that swing, he's skiddy, he's a little bit hard to pick also. He's been doing that for years and years. But one person, that advantage that people haven't seen, we've got this guy, Gerald Coetzee. He's taken a lot of wickets in those middle overs, and it's quite hard for a fast bowler to do that. He's taken quite a lot of wickets in this middle over, and something that has been done more by spinners. But him as a fast bowler, he's not shy to bring that short ball into action, and guys who have tried to take him on, they've paid severely. And for me, he is the man to watch out for South Africa. He's one guy that not a lot of, if it wasn't for injuries, if Nokia was playing in this World Cup, I don't see him playing this, but Nokia got injured, he grabbed his chance. So for me, that advantage, having that man who can bowl 140 clicks, the version of Delstein, we see how he celebrates. For me, he's that man, the unsung hero who's been doing well for South Africa. So that's part of the advantage that South Africa has, having a guy who will take wickets in the middle over, and that's something that you need as a team.
Well, thank you. That was Christopher Mpofu, who played for Zimbabwe for 15 years at the international level. Well, we go on to our interesting part, and something which is a fan favorite, where we demystify all the statistics, especially for this World Cup. And we are joined by Jeffrey, who's a coach at the South African team, who played the first class at South Africa. Today is very important for Jeffrey, for us, because we're going to look at the stats, the figures, the 10 overs, the 20 overs, and get your feedback into it live and answer all the fan questions. Well, without further delay, Tasmin, just take us through this head-to-head.
Yeah, definitely. So like I mentioned earlier, they've met each other 8 times before on the World Cup stage. New Zealand on the winning hand of this, leading the row 6-2, of which the past 5 have come in concession as well in a row.
Absolutely.
South Africa looking to probably want to fix that.
Is that a redemption time? We've asked Jeffrey about it. He said no, it's an inconsequential game, but they'll be playing for the second and the third. We go on to the next. Absolutely. So it becomes kind of a mental setback. Look at their head-to-head in the past as well. If you see historical data, they've been there, they've done that, they've been good, but since the World Cup, they haven't got their act together in the past 5 World Cup. Can we go on to the next one, please? Now, this becomes like a good semi-final kind of a match. Now, this is important. Now, you have most number of runs scored is by Stephen Flemings, and all these 3 guys are not here in the World Cup. So that means you've got newer stars like Rachin, who are trying to, set up their name and their credibility into this. So, what do you think of the New Zealand players? Next, please.
Yeah, definitely. For me, the most runs scored against both sides between the two. We've already seen Quinton de Kock surpass this 140-yard mark so many times this far, this World Cup. We've seen brilliant innings from Henrik Klaassen, as well as the likes of Aiden Markram and them. So
right.
I don't believe that this plays any big role for them at all.
Absolutely. This doesn't. Just the fact that Kane Williamson is not a part of this makes New Zealand look a little weak. As we move on to the next interesting stat that is coming on our screen right now, we'll look at it next. So it becomes very interesting when you don't have your biggest scorer, the biggest guy, the biggest leader of the pack not being a part of it. Again, this is purely for the historical perspective. Look at Ian Smith, the kind of number of best strike rate. I think he'll be excited and delighted to see about his strike rate in the World Cup at 237. I think his strike rate with the mic in the commentary box is even better.
Oh yes, definitely.
Absolutely. We go on to the next one, please. Well, this is where the South Africa and this thing stands up here. Again, nothing much for the fact that it is just the highest average here. Sinclair doing a good job. Again, when you see the South Africans and the New Zealand guys, they have the same approach. I'll ask our coach, Jeffrey, what do you think about the difference between the first and the 10th over approach between the two teams as we move on to the next one?
Yeah, I think the strategy of the Proteas since Rob Walter has taken over is to have that positive mindset. You know, up front, I mean, we put opposition under pressure. I mean, like we've seen how Quinton de Kock plays. I mean, he's really played well in those first 10 overs. And Temba, you know, is there as the anchor. But yeah, it's a positive approach. I mean, like the boys will play shots. Yeah, but because we bet deep as well, you know. So yeah, like the approach is always positive under Rob Walters.
Absolutely. The approach is positive, they're aggressive. Where Treadbolt has a personal milestone, but at the same time, this is very important to us. Who are the leading batters here? Now, this decides which team has the balance of power here. Number one is Quinton de Kock. Again, when you look at, we have Makram at number 6. So, between them, you have a surety of 800 runs that they've scored in the World Cup. And therefore, you have two of the top batters for South Africa, one at the top, one at number 6. Similarly, when you go on to New Zealand, you have Rachin Ravindra at number 3. So that also gives you a kind of what do you say, a comforting factor. Tasmin,
Yeah,
who are the other ones?
This will definitely show you that there is a balance, something going on between the two teams. Both of them with two players sitting in the top 10 right now. Daryl Mitchell as well from New Zealand sitting within the top 10. So that you know to say, regardless of Kane Williamson not being in the squad, and you know how you have a punch a couple of guys that actually haven't stood up, both teams still have guys standing up and raising their hands and saying, look, we don't mind the opportunity and we're willing to grab onto it.
So what it does is, when you look at head-to-head, these are the two batters to negotiate when it comes to South Africa, Quinton de Kock and Makram, who are at number 1 and 6, and you have Mitchell at 10 and Ravindra at 3. So you have 1 and 6, 3 and 10 getting go together on your television screen. We move on to the next one, please. So this makes it even more exciting when you have two batters, like India has Rohit and Virat. Now, let's look at the leading wicket takers. Again, you have a tie at the first place with Adam Zampa and Shaheen Afridi. Bumrah has slipped to number 3. Satna again. This is what it looks good, you know. You have a spinner, you have a pacer, you have a spinner, and you have a speedster. Here, Satna at number 4. Again, Jensen.
Two South Africans again within the top 10 for them. They've got Marco Jansen and they've got Gerald Coetzee. We heard Chris just mention him. He's in at number 7 right now. Regardless of the fact that he may be going a bit expensive, he is the guy you can guarantee to come into the middle overs and cause a bit of trouble for the opposition.
So the good news is that you've got two top batters from both the sides at one go. You have two from New Zealand at the same. You have the same bowlers, same batters as well. Let's move on to the next. It's really exciting when you see some batters like this, and this is what it looks like. Look at the innings and the statistical part of. Right. When you have 6 innings of Marco Jansen, would you like to take us through this?
So, yeah, definitely. He's been great. He's been brilliant with the ball up front from South Africa. We've seen him get the speed. We've seen him hit the deck. And something that's going to be very important, because we've seen that there's good carry in Pune as well. It does offer something for the fast bowlers. So he's had 6 innings so far this World Cup. He's taken 14 wickets. And he's going at an economy of about 6, which for any seam bowler, I believe, is brilliant for me in the modern day game of cricket right now, because guys are teeing off.
I mean, guys are teeing off. You have Quinton de Kock on the other hand. When you look at his innings, he's got 431 runs. He's got 300s. Now, where do you get such figures from? These are all, you know, you write your own screenplay, and this is what it is. Now, let's move on to the last slide and then wrap up our show for the day today. Well, it becomes really interesting. You're watching a semi-final rerun happening right now.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.